mathematicians. So last week, you guys went on a shape hunt and you guys found a lot of shapes. And all of these shapes that you found, probably 3D shapes, which means they all stand upright, that they're all solid, and they all have 2D faces on them. Like this candle has 2D rectangular faces, rectangles on all sides, and on the top and the bottom, there's some square faces as well. You put them all together, and this is a rectangular prism. So today, we're going to focus a little bit more about 2D shapes and also 3D shapes and what makes them the same and what makes them different. Now, remember last week, we were talking about the word attribute, and we were talking about Mr. Ouija's face and how I have attributes that make me Mr. Ouija, like my eyes. If you see these eyes, you probably recognize them as Mr. Ouija's eyes, or this nose, or my mustache. These are the attributes that make up my face, that helps you recognize this face as Mr. Ouija's face. Now, it's the same with shapes. Shapes have special attributes that help you to recognize them. So, for example, shapes have sides. This shape has 4 sides, and it's the shape square. You got it. And we know that this is a square because it has 4 sides. Now, another way for us to be able to notice shapes and be able to recognize shapes is by the attribute corners. So, this shape has 3 corners. What shape is this? That's right. It's the shape triangle. A little bit more about the attribute of a 3D shape. Now, what attributes do 3D shapes have that help us recognize them to be 3D? Well, first of all, if you remember earlier on in the video, we spoke about how 3D shapes are solid. Sounds pretty solid. Sounds pretty solid. Now, 3D shapes are solid and 2D shapes are flat. What other attributes make up a 3D shape? Well, 3D shapes also have corners, just like 2D shapes, except they have more. Take, for example, the square face has 4 corners. But when it's on a cube, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 corners. Take, for example, again, the face. The square face has 4 sides. But when it's in this 3D cube, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 sides. So there are more corners and more sides on 3D shapes. What else help us recognize it as a 3D shape? Well, it's got 2D faces, more than one. 2D face, square. 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 So, we know that 3D shapes are made of different 2D faces. That's an attribute that helps us recognize 3D shapes. Now, mathematicians, here are your jobs. First, you're going to go to BrainPop Junior and you're going to watch videos that compares and contrasts 2D shapes and 3D shapes. And then you're going to go back to the objects and the drawings that you've made on 3D shapes, and you're going to talk about what makes them a 3D shape. And it's going to sound a little something like this. I know that this object is the 3D shape rectangular prism because it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 corners. I also know that this is a rectangular prism because it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 sides. Also, I know that this is a rectangular prism because it's got a rectangular face here a rectangular face here, a rectangular face here, a rectangular face here, and also a square face here and a square face here. Okay, got it? Off you go.